One of my true business heroes, the late, great Peter Drucker, once said that the best way to predict the future is to create it. And what he meant by that was that instead of passively waiting for things to happen, individuals and organizations should actively shape their own destiny by taking initiative and driving change themselves. And I cannot think of a more appropriate way to open the benefits of learning how to train AI than that. We're not saying create AI. That train left a long, long time ago. We're having a lot of things thrown at us, some that we can understand easily, others not so much. But what I am saying is that, in line with what Mr. Drucker says, the best way to predict what your future is with AI is to create your own future. This is it, right? This is a great way to earn a steady income that can match your goals and ambitions regarding your lifestyle while contributing and participating in this cutting edge that is AI. So instead of falling prey to some of the credible or otherwise claims of here's how to create an AI business or become an AI this or this piece of AI there, which we see all over the place, I'm saying at a foundational level, start by training the AI, because then you're going to learn more about it and more of the opportunities. And the benefits of this is that, you will be able to earn anywhere, anytime. I often look at the internet as this shopping mall that's open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, because of that, there's always an opportunity to work with somebody, with an organization, training AI. You'll gain skills that will keep you employable in a future that we can only describe as AI-powered. Your work will help build smarter, safer, and more inclusive AI systems. I can't stress this enough, and it's something I'm going to talk more and more about it. There is, as with most things, a bit of a double-edged sword here. While there are wonderful benefits, there's also an incredibly, incredibly dark side of AI. But by being the one that teaches it and helps frame and create it, you are contributing to a safer world for all of us. The minimal AI tech skills is just a massive benefit. One of my flagship training programs is Digital Picks and Shovels, and that's me covering the 14 years I've had in the industry providing done-for-you digital marketing services for people. Now, those picks and shovels that I learned over the years absolutely put me in a position where I could work, and I've loved pretty much every minute of it. However, there was work to be done in order to learn how to edit videos or to write copy or to run ads. You had to actually put your time in to learn these specific skills. Well, when you train AI, it doesn't have to be that way. There are platforms, of course, that will teach and train and show you, right? But you bring a skill set and experience. Sometimes it's as simple as just the language that you speak natively or where you live in the world that can get you hired. So it's great from that standpoint, and that's why you can also get going very, very quickly. Now, the downside of it is if you are not following something like this and you don't go onto the resources that I recommend, chances are they will not be as ethical as some of these, what I can only call predatory platforms that exploit, won't pay you on time, won't pay you well enough, and they're out there. Thankfully, a number of organizations have signed certain codes and made pledges where they're not going to do that. And that's one that we're going to sort of make sure that it's these platforms you're introduced to and that you can go deep with. But the final sort of downside that I see here, really, if you don't follow this, if you don't take action, is just that risk of inaction. Because while opportunities grow, so does the competition. So the sooner you start, the sooner and better you can be positioned to do this. So what is data labeling? When I talk about data labeling relative to training AI, what am I talking about? Well, data labeling is a cornerstone of artificial intelligence because what it does at its core, it transforms raw data into structured information that machines can understand. Without accurate labels, and the algorithm will struggle to learn from the data they process. Now, let me break this down in layman's terms and just say that the quality of the outputs is contingent on the data the AI model was trained on. So if you go to something and you put some information in and you're not vibing with the information that's come back, or you're fact checking it and you're saying this is not good, it means at the heart the quality of the input was not correct. And this is what determines the success of AI models. It underscores the importance of data labeling. So at its core, data labeling is about making raw data like images, text, audio, and video understandable for AI models by adding meaningful annotation. So examples, you tag objects and images for self-driving cars. So there's a car going down a road and there's a stop sign, or there is a shopping center there, or there is a pavement, or it's a one-way street. You will actually point that out so that the car can pick that up. It's highlighting key phrases and text for chatbots, which I believe are just going to go from strength to strength and become, even more human sounding. But it's also identifying faces, places, moods, foods. And this is where we begin to move towards the specialized aspects of data labeling. Without labeled data, AI systems cannot learn and they cannot improve. And an example I wanted to give you is let's look at when children are young and there may be a fireplace, or there may be an iron, or there may be a cooker or something else like that. And they're told hot, and the kid will begin to process the fact that, no, this is hot. This is the downside if I touch something that is this hot, like it's a cooker or something. It's the only way they learn, or even sometimes picking up food, if you like. So we are training by often prompting, and then the child over time begins to work that out for themselves. And it's very much the same with these machines. Another analogy may be with a dog, where you say sit, and it begins to understand the sit, and you say stay, and you're encouraging it. But if you remember, I also talked about the ethical aspect of this. How often do we see these heartbreaking stories when a dog has mauled somebody, sometimes with the worst consequences? And quite often, the finger gets pointed to the dog's owner, where they say, well, look, this dog was clearly brought up in the wrong sort of environment, was fed the wrong sort of things, information, a hostile environment. Well, it's no different. It's no different with AI. And this is why the responsibility and the opportunity is to bring up a good child, a well brought up, loving pet who can then, be equally loving and rewarding to others, if you like. And I've sort of made this kind of analogy so you can understand the training and the nurturing aspect of it. Because data labeling can be supervised, where you're there and you're actually playing a very active role. It can be unsupervised, and this often happens when you've just got tremendous amounts of data that just needs to be put in a machine, loads and loads and loads of PDFs or white pages, transcripts from videos and so on and so forth. And then, of course, there is the semi-supervised, where there's a bit of both. So there is such a growing demand, and you can see it going in so many different areas. And the need for labeled data spans industry like healthcare, retail, law, education, the financial industry. I already talked about, vehicles, self-driving vehicles, and many, many more. And again, what's my definition of many, many more? Well, this is what you're going to learn on these platforms. You will go there and you'll begin to see, because it's great. You go to one, for example, like Outlier, and they've actually got these categories. One for languages, so if you speak natively in a certain way, there's work for you. If you're a specialist, so if you're a tax or an accountant or a chemist or a biologist, there's coding, and then there's the generalist work as well, in the areas of content creating and proof writing and things like that. So on the topic of tools, it's 100% true that you don't need skills, but be open to learning them and understand that, again, similar to the wide world, when you go and apply for a job, if you're successful in getting that job, there'll be certain tools and programs that you need to do the job. Before I started in digital marketing, done for you services, I had 2 part-time jobs. One was at the local taxi company, and the other was at a local hotel. And at the hotel, it was very, very basic stuff. At the taxi company, it was the same thing. I was picking up the phone. I was that person where they said, look, can I have a cab, please? And I said, where are you? And they say, yeah, where do you want to go? Yeah, I'll be there in 10 minutes. But in both cases, I actually had to learn the software to use to check people in who had arrived at the hotel and reserve a room for them and so on and so forth. And at the taxi company, I had to put the booking in. So a driver would then access it via his phone and go and do that. So again, I'm trying to show you that when you get onto these platforms, sometimes it'll be very, very basic, where you can do it straight away. You're just identifying a language or an image or your skill set. But other times, very similar to when you get a job and you have to use a certain amount of software, you will have to learn that, but it will be in your best interests to do so. I remember many years ago, we often saw when you'd apply for a job and they said, well, you must know how to use Microsoft Word or be competent in Excel or PowerPoint and something. No different. But the great thing is many of these platforms will actually teach you how to do this themselves.